Let your curiosity rise.
Mad Bricks webcast,
Where the human spirit flies. Mad Bricks webcast. Where the human spirit flies.
Hey, welcome to the Medbix webcast. You know, I was all a little mess today. I was rushing. I'm in different place. I mean, not different place. But I'm a kind of vagabond, everything. But anyway, let's start that process right now. You know, we have a, oh yeah, you need to adjust it just a little bit, camera. Okay, anyway, we have a, that's a very interesting thing, subject today. Two subjects I'm going to discuss. One is the nursing home situations. So in a moment, my co-host Susan is going to join. But the next one is I wrote an article yesterday about the medical education. We need to do something about it. Okay, medical education, because that is a big challenge. We can ask Abhi also. Abhi has a good understanding of medical education too. So, Abhi, Dr. Kasinadhuni. Let me bring my co-host, Susan Davis. She's a beautiful, blonde, and bold, and traveler. Let me bring Susan Davis, Dr. Susan Davis, Doctor of Nursing Practice. Welcome, Susan.
Hi, Ramon. Good evening.
Good evening. You've been traveling quite a bit, right?
I have.
Yeah. Tell me what's going on at your travels. You attended a conference in Cincinnati or someplace.
No, I was in Cincinnati, and I just got back from the conference in Phoenix. I was at the Citizen CPR Foundation Cardiac Arrest Survival Summit. So it's a mouthful, but lo and behold, right?
It is.
But
I think what they discussed. So what is their mission statement? What the mission is?
If there's a human on this planet that's going to stay on this planet from cardiac arrest, we're going to give them the best opportunity to do so. So it's everything from the top research in this country and many other countries, pre-hospital, in-hospital, survivors, co-survivors, the education, the training. I mean, you name it. It's a niche of resuscitation excellence, all in one spot. It meets every 2 years, and truly, it just gets better and better. There's also a huge focus on our communities. That's a big passion of mine, is working with communities, becoming a safe place, as many AEDs, and getting as many lay people trained to recognize the problem, call for help, and act. We act as one, and we are one. So the whole goal is to keep us here to enjoy this beautiful planet as long as possible.
My guest Abhi Kasinadhuni, Dr. Abhi Kasinadhuni, and me, we came from a small villages, and if there is a heart attack or CPR, cardiac arrest, just death is the only one that's available. They don't even know how to do CPR in the village. So even though it is impossible, how easy sometimes can save lives by using CPR, training your hands and mind, as you say, that is a powerful tool. We need to really spread across the entire world. That's a very, very important. So let me talk about nursing homes. I tell you what is going on in the nursing homes, Susan. I went there recently, visited one nursing home. Oh my God, I'd rather push me out of the Grand Canyon than sending. So I tell you it is just a horrible experience. And out of three, one is good. Three is just is not a shape that I want to be. But how the country is judged on how, not by apps, not by rockets, how we treat our elders. That is, we lost that. America needs to refocus where that priorities are a little bit. That's why I wanted to bring this subject to the front lines, and I'm going to talk about a little bit more. Then entirely different topic, but it's connected with it in a way. I'm going to talk the most beautiful equation in medicine. Let me bring the Dr. Abhi Kasinadhuni. Welcome, Abhi. Hi, Abhi. How are you?
How
Dr.
are you guys?
Kashi.
You okay?
Hey, only I am the one can tell your last name. No one can pronounce your last name. Right?
Well, I read that we can call him Dr. Cass. Is that okay?
Everybody
So,
call him out in the cast, probably.
please, I encourage that because we're going to have a fun conversation, and I definitely don't want my name to be the thing that trips us all up. So, Abhi or Cass, Dr.
Yeah.
Cass is perfectly fine.
Did you check your video audio the audio settings? Be a little bit of a maybe you have an external audio or you have audio with the external or you're talking with the laptop
Yeah,
audio.
just using the audio for the from the
If
laptop.
you
Is
don't
that okay?
mind, take out the background and then go to the settings. If you don't mind, take the settings and go to the audio settings.
Yeah,
There's a gear
maybe
there
that.
and change
Oh,
it
that's
because
that.
you're not matching your talk and your.
There's a
Is that
delay.
right? Do you
Here,
agree,
check this.
Abhi, that is a problem? Sorry, Susan.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Better?
some is it a
Is
little
it
bit
better?
better? Yeah.
that's better. Actually, yes.
That's better. Yeah.
Perfect.
So you need this external mic is always better if you want to be, but you don't go. I don't know how much podcast you do. Abhi, Dr. Kasinadhuni, Abhi Cash. I know you for a long time when you were a baby.
Yes.
so, I wanted to disclose to you, Susan. He is my mother's sister's grandson. You know, so his dad and his dad brothers I went to school with. We were since childhood days hanging around together in small villages. We are all from small villages, not him, but
No,
his
no.
parents
Hey,
and we
I'm there.
came from.
I was born there. You know that?
You were born in Phenomenon?
I was born in Palakollu, and I was there
Palagala.
till
Okay, okay.
the age of 5. So, for what it's worth, I was born in during a time when we didn't even have electricity in the
Yeah.
facility where my mom was delivering, and that was quite normal. And so, I did have had that experience. I had that experience down my
You're the last generation of those kind of people.
yes.
My family. We didn't have electricity until high school graduation. So is but you became a doctor. That you did all those things. Abhi, I wanted to. Sorry, I call you Dr. Cash. I need to call you
That's
because
okay. You can
officially
call me
it
whatever
is.
you want.
You know that I was talking about nursing homes. Tell me, what is a you're a medical director for nursing home, right?
Correct.
What is the duties of the medical director does in the nursing home?
Sure. I mean, a lot of medical directors also take on the clinical duties. So in my specific role, uh, I also practice and, see patients regularly. But as a medical director, in addition to clinical practice, there's a lot of oversight, everything from administrative issues to, delivering quality care, meeting certain guidelines and metrics, ensuring that we're staying up to date with vaccinations and so on and so forth. So essentially, we work closely with administration to deliver the best possible care. This includes bringing down costs, which is something that high costs are plaguing a lot of nursing facilities. So it's a multifaceted role that's not just clinical.
Yeah, and the cost, I guess if we're going to come right out of the gate with cost, it's unreal what it costs to have a family member in any area of skilled nursing, and let's not even get into the memory care because that jacks it up a whole nother at least grand a month. But I mean, the cost of keeping a family member in care for a year is anywhere, what can you, 80 to 70 to $100,000 a year. How do people possibly afford that?
They don't. I mean, frankly speaking, we have a number of people. Most people, in fact, are not private payers. I mean, if for every 100 people, I would say maybe 5 at most are going to be private payers who either utilize whatever insurance is giving them and then supplement on top of that, or just pay out of pocket. And those folks are, fortunate enough to have saved up, or they have families that have enough resources to be able to support that. But that's, far and few. Ultimately, we are heavily reliant on this Medicare, managed Medicare, Medicaid, type of insurance to be able to facilitate those stays. And yeah, and if we can't do that, then it's rough. So really,
But
there
they're
is no.
full, right, Dr. Cass? I mean, they're full. I was looking at some quarterly, like end of. I think I thought there was a number from end of quarter 4, 2024 was like 87 globally. 87% of were full. I mean, they're there, and we know what's happening with our baby boomers. We know what's happening with our over 65 population. It's not going down; it's going up. So the need is increasing. They're full, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, full, absolutely. But the tricky thing is, I mean, there are, exactly as you pointed out, you have folks that require post-acute care. You have folks that require more long-term acute care. You have folks that might have higher needs as as it relates to memory care. So they all fall under different categories. And so, yeah, generally filling up your census is not the issue, but ultimately, the type of patient really dictates what type of reimbursement that facility gets. And a patient that has fewer needs or doesn't need the skilled care necessarily fetches lower reimbursements. And unfortunately, it's a dollars and cents sort of thing. To be able to support a facility, you need to have a healthy mix of patients that fetch higher reimbursements that can help actually keep the program afloat and alive. So it's much more complex and tricky than meets the eye. So while I would argue that, yeah, there is definitely a shortage in facilities, staffing, etc. There are many instances where a facility is not necessarily full, and while they would aspire to be, it's very important to keep a healthy mix of all types of patients. And speaking on that, you're now seeing a lot of specialty facilities that really focus on niches, because that's their way to really keep costs down, provide specialized care, and really create these efficiencies. And so one such example is, patients that really need this type of transitional care, or rather people who need mechanical ventilation, intubated patients that need trach and vent care. And so I round at facilities that exclusively focus on some of those patients. And so that's one way you fetch a certain type of reimbursement. And though it's more specialized, it's an efficiency that's created because they're really just catering to those folks. Does that make sense?
Yes, but you mentioned staffing, so I mean that you're now talking about skilled nursing and
She is a
staffing.
nurse.
Yeah,
She
so
is
I
a
mean,
doctor.
I know the staffing. I mean, first of all, you said staffing, so we know that there's a nursing shortage already. There's supposed to be, I don't know, I'll never get the numbers right, but hundreds of thousands of nurses short over the next few years, and then in your world, and another like million shortages on support. CNAs, techs. And you, again, in one facility, you might have memory care, assisted living, and then upstairs you have these long-term care patients that require, a little bit more knowledge if you're going to be taking care of vented patients and so on and so forth. What's the future for you guys with the staffing crisis and the type of care, by the way, that actually, without talking about the numbers, right? These are people, like Ramana said at the beginning, these are our parents. These are our parents, and the type of care that we want them to have while they're in there. It's a tough mix, I think.
Listen, I think staffing is a tough issue, no matter what sector of healthcare you're addressing. And if you want me to be honest, especially as it pertains to like the CNAs, the aides, the techs, it's not a glorious job, and it's a tough one.
By a long
Ultimately,
shot.
folks are, I mean, like especially the aides, they're cleaning up bedpans, changing diapers, cleaning up vomit, and essentially, it's not glamorous at the least. And then on top of that, the pay is not really justifying the work. So that's also what's created this staffing shortage. Once upon a time, this was not so far into the future, as recently as 5 to 10 years ago, especially pre-COVID, as everybody knows. The staffing models looked a little bit different. And while staffing was always an issue, there was a huge shift in, work-life balance and the pay scale paradigm with staffing. And so suddenly, in a very short span, you lost out on a sector of workers who suddenly, I would say sudden, but started demanding more work-life balance, or more reasonable wages, livable wages. And so and that's just not sustainable for these skilled facilities, because ultimately they are functioning on razor thin margins. And so because, I mean, let's put it this way: I have a 130 bed facility. I'm a medical director at multiple facilities, but one of them is 130 beds, and I would say if roughly 120 of those beds are filled right now. I mean, we have at least 40 to 50 staff members, and so you can do the math. I mean, you have 40 to 50 staff members supporting 120 people. It's like a 1:2,
Let, let,
and for that.
let me ask you a question. Is it a good idea to mix assisted living, independent living, memory care, skilled nursing home, post acute care, post long term acute care? Can you mix all of them together in different wings in the same facility, or do you think is it better to divide them and to build different things?
Yeah, so where you have like population densities, and and you're able to carve these little programs out and keep things tight, it may be possible to have these like niche specialized facilities for each and everything. But let's not avoid the elephant in the room, which is providing equal and like equitable access to this care. Which, again, like, I'm in the suburbs of Philadelphia, so there are plenty of options. People can shop around, choose between their facilities. But what happens when you go a little bit further out into Mechanicsburg, Harrisburg, or, I mean, I can name cities uh, local to you, but ultimately, if you drive an hour out, now your options dwindle. And so you don't have the luxury of carving out these niches where you can provide these specialized care and create these efficiencies. So ultimately, you can't survive on just an LTAC. You can't survive on just post-acute rehab necessarily. You need to have these blended models to be able to support certain types of staffing consistency. So, like, for example, if you have a facility that exclusively provides post-acute care, or a certain type of inpatient rehab, those are usually short stays. And so when you have short stays, you have large fluctuations in patient census. And so where 1 month, if let's just say, for the sake of discussion, you have a 50-bed facility that's exclusively post-acute. In 1 month, you have 45 post-acutes. You're going to have the staffing to support that. But then in another month, you might have just half of that. So since you have such a dynamic and fluid load, you can't afford to pay nurses and staff when the census is 50%. Whereas in LTAC, you have a more consistent, patient census, but of course it pays a little bit differently. And you have these value-based care models. And so there are complexities which, to the eye, it seems simple. But let's put it this way: there are a number of complexities that don't make this an easy thing to solve. And I think everybody's just trying their best. But ultimately, the first place to start is access
It's
to
the
care.
funding. The funding is the first place.
Yeah, I mean, the funding is an issue as well. Again, it seems obvious, but do we spend a considerable amount of money on patients? I think, Susan, you pointed out earlier, I don't have the exact figures on how much it costs to provide this care. I think a simple Google search will give you that statistic, but it is an enormous amount. And so, yeah, arguably the funding has not kept up with the cost of providing that care, so that has been stagnant. So yes, especially the reimbursements, I think they're like somewhere, the increase has been around 2 to 3%, while the rising costs are significantly more than that when you factor in inflation, staffing shortages, and increased pay. So like, yeah, the reimbursements have not kept up, but if you look at the big picture, we spend a heck of a lot of money to take care of these people. And that's probably a good place to start. Why are we spending so much money to take care of these people? And are we really providing value for the amount of money we are spending? And I think starting from that bird's eye view and then zooming in may be a better way to look at it, because a lot of people still don't have access to this care. We're talking about a luxury that people have in these like more population dense areas, but rural areas and even some suburban areas do not have these places to go.
And they're
You know, my
closing. They're closing. There's a lot of, and especially in the rural areas, they're closing. And then what do we do? What do they do? This is, and by the way, there's nothing easy about this. You said it looks simple from the outside. It does not look simple. Any person who's ever tried to navigate for the first time, trying to find a placement for a family member, knows that there is nothing easy about it from the
yeah.
outside looking in versus the inside looking out. It's a treacherous,
Yeah,
difficult,
Yes.
absolutely. You know, I
is it
have a friend in
process?
Dallas, a very good friend of mine, Jennifer. She was looking for her sister for a long time. She moved one place to other place. She gets frustrated. It is really tragedy. Let me ask you, what are the solutions? It said that cost is not the only one. You can do with that same money. You can provide a value based. What is your solutions? What kind of radical solutions you have? For example, in California, we have a tsunami coming. 59% increase in the next 10 years of the senior population. Housing requirements are humongous here. And then my friend is trying to build a nursing home, but the regulations are so vast. It is unbelievable amount of time it takes to get approvals. So what is your radical solution? What are the solutions or AI solutions? Anything that you think of for that cost?
Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm young and relatively speaking, I'm, a young career physician. So, my thoughts are probably a bit more radical and perhaps in the near term unachievable because of, you know, how out of the box they are. But I think first, there really does need to be a cultural change, which realistically I don't see happening. But maybe it's going to be a forced thing at some point. There has to be a culture change, okay? And when I say culture change, I mean, um, I think slowly or maybe quickly, based on how you look at it, this whole concept of independence, nuclear families, even folks who are just
Beautiful.
walking away from having kids, uh, you know, this is leading to a mentality that everybody for themselves, okay? And so slowly, what's dissolving is these tight knit communities that help support each other. And so the way I look at it, I'll give you an example or a story. So, at one of the facilities that I regularly attend, I have a patient who I saw for the first time, and I mean, I was new to this facility, so he'd been there for a while, and he was just this older guy who had this really like lighthearted personality, and uh, he's like, "What are you doing? What are you gonna do for me?" And he was just, kind of making light of everything that I was trying to do seriously because I was way too serious, but he was just, trying to make the situation better. But ultimately, he said one thing to me. He's like, "You realize that me, right?" I'm like, "What do you mean? I'm here to help. I want to know what your problems are. I'll try to fix them, even if somebody before me wasn't able to." And he's like, "Listen, He's like, no matter what you do, you might be able to help today a little bit, help tomorrow, but this is where people like me come to die, and that's my reality. So there's really nothing you're going to do to help me. And
Yeah.
so I think he summarized it best because, I mean, he has this little, he shares his room with two other people. Luckily, he has a window. He's bound to his wheelchair. People check on him maybe a couple times a day. But, he's not so active. And ultimately, he's really taken refuge in his books. He has huge stacks of books, and that's what keeps him going. But he's not wrong. He's not wrong. And he basically, hit the nail on the head. He's like, yeah, this is where people come to die. And more so senior citizens, but not just senior citizens, folks who have disabilities, folks who have certain special needs that require extra assistance. One way or another, they are in a marriage with these facilities, and they're there to live out their lives without any kind of major measurable quality, and they're there to just wither away and die. And
Abhi,
so,
yeah,
yes.
I
And
wanted to
so,
interrupt you a little bit about this.
what's
Yeah, yeah.
that?
Because I wanted to interrupt you this one because it's very important point you are making. Such a profound statement you made. Cultural change. We are the examples. You and me, your grandmother, my mother, were six sisters living together in nuclear family. Really, they support each other. My, grandmother. She was like a she's like a general in that family. Continue, she cared for everybody. This is kind of hundreds of cousins and all of them. She really cared for everybody. That nuclear family in a small villages did work. It is a beautifully work with everybody taking care of everybody. We don't need to die on this somewhere. We don't even know where they are. It is really powerful statement you are bringing back. That's not only radical. That's a practical solution in my view.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. And I think that, when I'm talking about, so this gentleman, what he said really, I mean, it really touched me. And I said, yeah, he has a point. And the people who do best are the folks who really prosper. And really, that's like, you got to take that with a grain of salt. I don't see anybody really prospering in these facilities because how can you? You're not surrounded by people who are recognizable, people you love, especially in the memory care units. We are their family. They don't even recognize their own family members, a number of them, and so it's tricky. But you know, ultimately, the people who do best are the people who have some family, some support, not just these strangers who are caring for them. And so, I guess the bigger question is, how do you really change culture? How do you change mindsets? Because we are this now technology driven society that is dependent on certain technologies and not always, I'm not talking about technologies necessarily as it pertains to like AI or computers or phones. Yes, that's a component, but we're dependent on these certain technologies, but we've become kind of, I don't know how to put it, but uh, very loosely attached to some of these other paradigms, which is family structures and social values, etc. And so, as our dependence on these technologies and these faculties exist, our attachments to more traditional norms have loosened. And so, anyway, my suggestion, if anybody would ever hear it, is these days it's difficult to incentivize families to care for their loved ones. And there are certain things where, technology just can't help a person go to the bathroom at this point. You can't, technology is not going to change a diaper or give somebody a bath or administer medications necessarily. We're not there yet. We may be in the next 20, 30 years, but we are not there now. And until we get there, how do we fill that gap? And I think perhaps one way to look at it is, okay, well, we are spending an X number of dollars to support your loved one. Okay. Why can't we just give that as a credit to folks who can support their loved ones at home. Okay, because a lot of the issue, okay, you have two people in a household that are working full time, and then nobody's able to watch that person, provide care for that person all day long, but again, how do we incentivize families to stay together is the point. Because
So
yeah,
so
Susan.
much easier said than done. And I too would love to see the paradigm shift. But from someone who's just been through this, I mean, I've spent the last 3 years of my life in and out of memory care with a family member, and this one's just horrible. And then this one, we move. We finally find one that's was spectacular, but the hell on the family trying to make that decision to try to keep the family member at home. The cost is also enormous. The safety feature, having around the clock care is not cheap at home. And then there's got to be a backup to the backup plan for the around the clock care. I mean, I'm using memory care specifically as an example here, but it becomes a safety thing. More so. So, I mean, there wouldn't have been enough money in the world to give us. That's not true. I mean, I guess it was piles and piles and piles of money, but money really wasn't a problem in our family's care for my uncle, for example. But we tried at-home care. We tried, home delivery food. We tried autonomy for as long as we could. And the safety became, the safety and dependence on the around-the-clock care and then we knew the second we put our family member where he was going to have to stay in memory care, to your point, he said, that's it, I'm dead. I'm just going to die. And a lot of them just give up. Even you find the best one with the best care. And we found the best one with the best care, the kindest people, around the clock care that was just divine. But he lost his will to live, and we did everything possible to keep him out. Our family members took shifts. We did get backup care, and it was so hard. He just wasn't able to stay at home. It was not safe.
Yeah, and I agree. It's not a black and white situation. So when you have, because memory care is just a whole nother, it's difficult, those folks. And I mean, along the lines, not just folks who have dementia or memory, but you have people who have behavioral health issues,
Yeah.
especially if they get combative or they have hallucinations, et cetera, et cetera. How does, forget one family member, how does even a group of members, especially if they have young children at home or animals, or, you're right, a lot of safety issues that are not fully addressed. I think that, what we're seeing in certain facilities and what you and I are talking about right now, keeping folks at home, are just two extremes. And I wonder if there is, a possibility to strike a balance, especially for lower complexity folks. I'm not saying the starting point is, for people in memory care or who have higher needs. I mean, that's not a starting point. I think the starting point is, okay, how do we really incentivize? So here's an example. I have a number of people, and there's no facility you go to where they say, oh, I love the food that I get. Every food that they get. And it's industrialized, it's commercialized food. I mean, at the end of the day, there's just not enough money to hire a chef or a cook to prepare fresh meals every day. And then what ends up happening is the same thing we see in school lunches. It's just industrialized food, which has been made to prepare, And so, something as basic as that. I mean, if you have a family unit or a family structure, or even, let's put it this way, a scenario where you can incentivize smaller groups to kind of
Yes.
take care of each other. So there are these private assisted living facilities that are coming because to address this shortage, where they have 4 beds, 8 beds, 12 beds,
Yeah.
usually less than 50 beds.
Or the
And
mini
so,
houses. I've seen, I know there's a handful of nursing colleagues of mine that are putting together, little mini compounds with the mini houses and then running them same
That's a
concept.
great idea. That's
and
a
you can
They're
bring
great.
care. Exactly. And these are people who have relatively lower needs. You can bring in the extra care that they might need, because at that point, when you have 10, 12, 14 people, you can justify having a person on site all day long, maybe the limited care at night, whatever. So, I mean, like, there's never going to be a perfect solution, but there has to be some sort of incentive to try and take that initiative, because what we're doing is just not sustainable. And essentially, what you do by creating these, basically, if you're putting the burden on facilities, there will be a very overloaded bureaucratic process, and they will not prosper. Is my point. And
Let me ask
so,
you another. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
no,
Finish. No,
that's my
you're
point.
providing us radical solutions. Let me ask you another radical solution. Sending people to India like Goa, put them in a big, beautiful place. You have a lot of people to serve. They can make it there. They don't have any relative. Of course, people who don't have relatives, who don't see them that much. Is it a good idea that kind of a thing sending to different countries?
It's like looking at the cover of a book. It looks like a good idea, but really, it's going to be terrible. So I would not ever do that in a million years. Just because, once you send people, listen, there's already a lack of accountability in some of these facilities and institutions out in the middle of nowhere. Not even in the middle of nowhere. They're just some areas where it's just grotesque, the type of environment, the type of care that's being provided. It's just, I would even say, borderline inhumane.
Yeah.
Which your nose knows. I mean, when all you got to do is open the front door. Everyone's like, I'm picking a facility for my parent. I said, just walk in the front door and
Yeah,
take a whiff. You'll know.
you can feel death.
Yeah.
And so these facilities and these conditions exist within the continental United States. What makes you think that a standard of care will be provided and furthermore enforced in any other country other than ours when we have our own set of rules to play by? So I think, like, in theory, it sounds great. And, some people would do an outstanding job and arguably way better than some folks. But, listen, I mean, people can already do that right now. If you're getting a social security check, what's stopping you from flying overseas and just retiring there? There are plenty of expats in these lower cost of living, countries that have these expat communities where they can afford to hire help. They get a social security check for $1,000, $1,500 a month, and that's enough to go far. So anybody who's willing can already do that. But to take it to the extent that you want to create programs and standardized care in other countries, it's never going to happen. And it's going to be an opportunity for a lot of abuse and fraud, which we have plenty of within.
Right here.
So it's probably not a good idea to export
Do you see
that.
me, or am I disappeared? Do you see me?
Yeah.
we-
Okay, yeah, I'm on camera, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, good. So, Abhi, this is a very depressing, really talk in that sense. But that's why I want to provide something different and inspiring a little bit. I want you to listen and then give a comment on it. So, this we need to find. I don't know. Nobody knows what the policymakers need to come up with a national strategy for this senior living and everything. But I'm going to do the presentation of something most beautifully questioned medicine on Tombstone. That is, we are talking about all people there to die. This is, you can put this equation on the tombstone.
Pretty
Okay,
appropriate,
that's pretty,
Ramana.
yeah. So that is Dr. Abhi Kasinadhuni joining from Pennsylvania. Yeah, I've been to the Shippensburg, Harrisburg. I know all those areas very well. A lot of Amish people live there. But anyway, he's not moving. I don't know why. Can you move, Manavia? Can you move this one? Why is it not moving?
There we go. Ramon, are you frozen? Is he frozen now?
Yep.
Rejoin.
Oh,
Oh, there
you're
you go.
back.
Am I back?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, good. Can you hear me? So
Yeah.
many people. Okay. Paul Adrian Dirac is born in England. He is in 1902. He wrote an equation, mathematical equation, and sitting down on it for 3 years. This equation. I don't want to get into the mathematics of it, but that equation opened up something strange, wonder. That wonder is there exists a antimatter. There exists a antimatter because what is antimatter? He was sitting down on the equation for 3 years. What he equation is telling them, there exists some kind of a parallel universe, parallel thing, something that unfathomable to the scientific community is a hydrogen. For example, matter is if you have a proton is in the middle and the electron. I'm just picturing, giving a picture, not exactly describing, but that's you see hydrogen atom as a one proton and one electron. Proton is positively charged, electron is negatively charged. Proton is a 2,000 times heavier than an electron. Like a electron is a 1 pound, proton is a 2,000 pounds. So the big boy. So that is a hydrogen atom. But in the anti-hydrogen is how it looks like antimatter. The proton is a negatively charged. The charges are swapped. Electron is positively charged. He found it exists in somewhere that equation is telling him that exists this kind of a matter. Nobody ever seen it. For 3 years, he was sitting down at the end, he published it. The checking and published it. Then there it is. After a few years, couple of years after publishing, it was found. Antimatter was found. Carl Anderson from here, Berkeley, the electron in the Wilson chamber, he found the electron and the positron. It's a positively charged electron, both of them going and diverging each other. So both won the Nobel Prize for this, in inventing the positron. The Paul Dirac won the Nobel Prize for the positron, in the science of positron. Carl Anderson got the Nobel Prize for discovery of the positron. Positron is positive charge of electron. Electron is a negatively charged. Positron is a positively charged. The charges are opposite. That's all. So what is actually now we found very easy. Bananas emit positrons actually. Every 75 minutes, one positron comes out of banana. Okay, we as a humans, because we have potassium 40 radioisotope inside, so 200 positrons we emit just naturally per hour. So this was validated, the antimatter. But how does it help? If you do fake glucose, what they do in the medicine, both of them are. Susan works on contrast, and Rabi is a doctor. So fake, they give a FDG, it's a fake glucose. They add a fluorine atom radioisotope tracer. It will. So it's chemically the FDG and the glucose are exactly same. There's the same properties. So what they do when you inject these FDG, all the cancer cells love glucose, so they take a lot of glucose inside. They're hungry for glucose because they're growing fast, right? Tumor is uncontrolled growth. So what it is, we give a FDG there, then there is a decay. There's a positron comes out of the FDG to the fluorine atom. I don't need to go through so much physics. That positron immediately interacts with the electrons inside. All cell is a lot of atoms, molecules, atoms, electrons, protons, right? That's all made up. Cell is made up of all the particles. So the positron immediately interacts with the electron and produces a gamma ray, powerful light. It's a light you cannot see. It's a gamma rays. It's a high frequency rays. So we can catch in the detector. It's a crystal. These are crystals. It catches the detector, and then attenuation. You can tell what is going on with that cell, with that tumor. So they can detect. The PET detector works on that principle. It's a dazzling PET scan, dazzling detection of Alzheimer's, for example. Abhi is talking about. Susan is also mentioning PET scan of the brain, you see the how it what is science is telling you, or the mild cognition and the Alzheimer disease in an extreme stage. So PET scan does a dazzling detection. That's an amazing cancer detection it does. Okay, that is that's a PET scan on the left side. There's a huge gantry, the detector, because radiation is heavy, so it's very heavily protected. So that is, but but the radioisotope of FDG or gallium or a lot of radioisotopes, they are very tough to produce. You need a cyclotron. It's a huge particle accelerator. You have to produce this FDG in a fluorine atoms actually, fluorine isotope they produce in a cyclotron. It moves around that in the and then collide with them. You have to make it fluorine in the accelerator. But there are only in the United States 250 centers. The FDG half life is 110 minutes. That means in 2 hours gone. Half of them is gone at least. So then another 2 hours is half of them are gone. So even if you increase the dosage, it is a big challenge actually. The radioisotopes, these producing them. United States only has a 250 centers. Some of the states, even in these so advanced country, these are states. They don't have Wyoming, Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, West Virginia, Vermont. They don't have a cyclotron. They have to ship it from out of state. So to detect cancer, you need out of state coming there by helicopter, by I don't know what they do, but it is coming from the out of state. Is it still as advanced as this country is? It is big challenge. 250 centers we have. We need almost 500 centers in this country needed. That's what the statistics say. So Cardinal Health has 22 centers they operate. They're the major producers of the cyclotron isotopes. Africa, the health inequities talk about. Africa has a 40 countries have zero in an entire continent. Only South Africa has some. The entire country of Africa, the continent of Africa, except South Africa, there is zero. 40 countries have zero cyclotrons. So if you get a cancer, probably you die. India is a 1.4 billion. We got 50. They're putting rapidly more and more, but India is a very small number for their population. So the country is really struggling to understand this cancer. We have a lot of money for wars. We don't have money for these kind of inventions. But listen, politicians may not be compassionate, but physicists are. you know, Physicists are more compassionate in that sense. There is a new physics they introduced, the positrons and plastics. This is a mind-blowing quantum physics. What it does is the when a, what it goes is when you give her this injection FDG, this beta decay that goes inside the cell and blast off the positron, and then positron interacts with the electron and then produce the gamma ray, and you detect the cancer. But before that, once positron emitted, they do a strange dance between the electron and positron. Positively charged electron and a negatively charged electron, they do a dance, circling each other. Without an atom without a nucleus. It is an atom without a nucleus, but they act like a very short time, very, very, very short time. They act like a atom. What is that? What it does is, if you measure when they combine them together, because they are going to meet each other, there's nothing you can do. When that time, if you can measure it, you can tell, you can better than a PET scan. You don't need a CT scan. PET scan is big. PET CT is big because CT scan is included there to structural recognition. So no CT scan required. 20 times is instead of crystals, there are plastic plates. So 20 times lighter than a PET CT. Then perfect mobile, rural and because you can take it to small towns, small villages, anywhere you can put in a van. Literally, you can take it there. This is a this JPET, Jagalanian Pet. It's called is the kind of name of the town in Norway. I think Scandinavian country. ER rooms you can push it to the patient's bed. Easy to assemble like a Lego. These are plastics. So very least amount of the lead you need, shielding fits in a minivan. Think about that. Why we are not doing this? I ask a lot of people, why we are not doing it? Because they invested so much on PET CT, the companies, they don't want to lose that money. So they slow the progress of this fund. It is purely politics. I think we need scientists really to raise up and ask these questions. Okay, so positron, the JPET beats everything in so many ways. One of the things it does better than even PET CT with such a is Ramanujan. You can use one of the things is it does. I will tell you about that in just a minute. Yeah, let me tell you what that is. Oxygenation. The cancer cell aggressiveness is still very difficult to measure. We cannot measure, which cell, which cancer is going to be aggressive or slow. We don't have that control. Only way you can tell is oxygenation. If there is a lot of oxygen atoms there, what it does is this positronium does happen. They meet very quick. If less oxygen, they take time. So that is a key. If you know the oxygenation is faster, if you measure the time of these two collisions between these positronium dance, before the marriage ended, you measure the time between the positron and the electron, you can get the aggressiveness of the cancer, therapy resistance, metastatic, you can get all of them better than PET CT. PET CT, you have to use a new contrast, a different contrast. So JPET is a revolutionary quantum physics coming to the doctor's office. That's what it is. So the aggressiveness is one of the challenges in the cancer. We need to find that is the JPET does a beautiful job. So, but it has a problems. It has a little bit of problems. I want to tell you what the problem is that signals are very weak. But what I did was I wrote an article. You can use 100-year-old Srinivasa Ramanujan mathematics is a beautifully works there. I checked it with so many people, so many publications. He is a monster, and I was talking about last time, monster groups and moonshine modular forms. Ramanujan 100 years ago wrote the mathematics. If you use, he's a master of big signals. If there is a weak signal, he can catch that in mathematics. That is the power of Ramanujan mathematics. You can combine from somewhere. So that's why I wrote the article, polymath article. I'm going to tell you why we need this kind of a interdisciplinary field is very important. So the next is Paul Dirac. He came to Tallahassee from England. He moved to Tallahassee, Florida. He was teaching in the University of Florida for 10 years. He died in 1984. Then he was offered everywhere job in Princeton, everywhere. He is the most genius in this world. Unsung hero of the cancer, father of the positron, Paul Adrian Maurice Dirac. He was in Tallahassee. There was a tombstone there in Tallahassee. That's where he died. London, England, where they put a tombstone, they wrote the equation of that tombstone, that which formed the positron. So, Paul, thank you for watching. But this is the story. I want to tell you, this is very emotional to me for a physicist to do unsung heroes of these physics people can produce. It is really fascinating what the science can do. Thank you for watching. Let me bring my friends. Yeah. What do you? Yeah, Abhi, what do you think? Can you hear
Well,
me?
definitely something I'm not well versed in, not something I learned in medical school, I'll tell you that much. But
Yeah.
I think that you're right. I think that we can all stand to benefit from this interdisciplinary type of education. Um, so I'll leave it at that.
So, and just another brilliant example of how, physics is becoming mainstream. I mean, no one even believed in physics, much less now. We're talking about quantum computers, and now you've got the JPET. This is a very interesting education that you just provided for us, Romana. That was a tough one. I'm usually pretty good with my physics. I spent some time, studying physics myself, but certainly not to the level of you, Romana. But that was really fascinating. Um, does the JPET? My question for you is the cyclotron. Does the JPET replace the cyclotron?
No,
The
no, no,
need
it
for it?
doesn't replace- no, no, no.
It
JPET is a
doesn't.
detector. JPET is a detector. Cyclotron, still you need a cyclotron. Still you need that. That is still a challenge. Where
Okay.
how do you get the cyclotrons? Are challenges still. It's a big challenge. We have a Stanford accelerator close by, but California has lots of them, but some states don't have that much of a thing there. But the point I'm making, Abhi, is that solutions can come from so strange. Rasina was Ramanujan from India. Then you said that in small village, like our villages that we grow up, I grew up, and your dad grew up. Um, it is that combination of cultural thing you see. If you don't have that inter exposure, you would not have think that, hey, joint families may be a better solution for the world. um, Go back to the original Indian psychology of a joint family. That is a radical to the American Western culture, but it may not be a bad idea to think about it, and then support that, as you say. You said the financial incentives shift that direction, may be better in some cases at least. So let me comment on that one for you.
Well, I was going to say the same thing, Romana. I think the suggestion of financial incentive to assist families when that decision comes up and perhaps buy them more time staying at home. We know that's what the family wants. We know that's what the patient wants more than anything. And if there was financial incentive somehow built in for that co-living piece with the extra support to stay home as long as possible, I'm sure many people would choose that option rather than, unfortunately, the death sentence of going into one of these places. It's a horrible thing to say. So we're grateful and thankful that there are people like you that are there that are helping to make that standard of care accessible and as high as possible for those who do have to move in.
Sure, I appreciate you saying that, and I think some of these meaningful changes will happen. So it might not be as radical as financial incentives for families, at least not right away. But um, putting myself aside, there are a number of people, like I said, in the memory unit that I directly oversee. These people that work there are just the most compassionate
Oh,
uh, people that I just and I've seen some terrible staff, and these guys are quite the opposite. They're just they're living, breathing excellence. And when I see them, and I'm like, okay, well, this is just a terrible situation for the patients, but a best case scenario for them nonetheless, because uh, as they're transitioning in their life, they're still surrounded by people who truly care to be there, and this is their new family. They don't recognize their own family, but they do very much recognize some of these people they see on a day-to-day basis. And as sad as that sounds, I think the note that I'll leave off on is that there is still humanity in medicine, and there is still humanity in the care that we provide. There are people. So I mean, no matter how much cynicism there is out there for some of these processes and things that are being done, at the core of it, there are people who do care and provide good care, and so uh, that should not be forgotten.
I have to end with the same note. I'm sorry, Romana, but the care that my family member received at the facility that we spent the last 2 years in was top notch. Unbelievable caring people across the board from every single point of touch point. The caregivers, the providers, the people who provided haircuts and shaves and just changed clothes and changed outfits and provided a clean space, clean room, activities, you know, opportunities to travel out, you know, to get a milkshake. I mean, every single thing you can think of that would keep their minds active and their bodies clean and keep them involved with the daily living was there. So I will say that it is possible to provide awesome care. And I was very fortunate. My family was, for my family member to receive that care.
Great.
Thank you, Abhi. You know, it is totally as a privilege. You know, and also you remind me your grandmother and I'm very close to your grandmother and my mother. I miss them all the times. When I see you, that reminds me my days with the grandma and ma. So they're all very close to me, both of your grandma and me. And I used to go to your hometown all the times, village all the times. You know, it's a great memories, fond memories for me. Thank you so much for joining, Abhi.
My
Abhi,
pleasure.
thank you for taking care of our parents. Thank you so much.
I'm going to,
My
yeah.
It truly is my pleasure, and it's a privilege because these are people who were just like us not too long ago. So, I consider it the privilege of a lifetime to be able to extend the care and, be the guiding hand that, helps them when they do transition. So, but anyway, thank you for having me. It's been wonderful, and yeah, hope to do it again sometime soon.
Thank you. Thank you so
Yeah,
much. Keep it. Navya, don't end it because I'm going to show something else. So thank you, Abhi. I don't want to take your time,
Yes,
patience and all those things, calling you probably. I know the doctor's time. Thank you so much, Abhi. Bye.
thank
thank
you.
Have a great night. Thank you, guys.
Good night.
So, yeah, Susan, I'm going to talk about a little bit. Yesterday, I made an article, right? That the article that I wrote is that why medical education requires a multidisciplinary thinking. So I need to I told them I'm watching my program today why they need to learn everything. It's not like we used to say learn physics, learn math, learn art, your art kid, you're a math kid. We train our brains. We tell children that kind of thing is really. When I was a kid, everybody said, "Oh, biology is bad." You're not. Your mind is not a biology guy. You're a math guy. You're an engineering guy. So people brand that it goes into your brain is a neuroplasticity. It becomes solid, and then say, "Oh, I'm a math guy. I don't want to learn biology." That is a dangerous thing, but particularly in the AI world, because doctors' expertise is AI can beat it a million times because they have all the knowledge. Okay, so the new doctors in the future, they have to be interdisciplinary. I'm going to show a video that I made why it is so important that I wrote an article. I told the audience that I'm going to show the reason why the education must be changed. Let me play that video quick, that and then we'll go from there. Let me. For mental relaxation, early human civilizations in the East practiced Buddha's teachings, while in the West they performed rituals. One place they mastered the consciousness through meditation, and other place they altered consciousness through psychedelics. But there is another alternative technique called consciousness hacking through technological innovation. A mathematical equation through virtual reality can offer and alter and master consciousness at the same time. A genius painter from Japan, a legendary scientist from Princeton University, and an engineer from IBM came from a different walks of life, from different times, made important contributions for consciousness hacking. Benoit Mandelbrot was hired by IBM to solve a nagging problem in the early days of telecommunications. The problem is a noise popping up while sending the data across telephone lines. Noise is an undesirable or unwanted signal that gets randomly added to the actual information carrying signal. Mandelbrot noticed a fixed pattern of noise repeating across the telephone lines irrespective of the distance the data traveled. Mandelbrot recollected seeing a similar idea before, a picture of a giant wave on a children's spiral notebook. The picture is the original painting from 18th century well-known Japanese artist Katsushika Hokusai. It is called the Great Wave of Kanagawa. Look at any part of the Great Wave, it looks very similar to the whole wave. The whole contains the parts. It looks counterintuitive, but the part also contains the whole. The artistic expression gave rise to a new concept in mathematics called fractals. Mandelbrot discovered nature's fundamental unit repeated through a geometrical pattern. The same geometrical pattern is present everywhere in the clouds, seashores, trees, and even in the human bodies. The nervous system looks very similar to that of a lightning. The EKG of the heart signal is strikingly similar to that of a noise signal in telephone wires. If you further zoom in into the signal, the strange looking pattern emerges. The pattern is discovered by Mandelbrot, bears his name Mandelbrot set. The nature around you, the snowflakes, trees, mountains are built from these series of Mandelbrot sets. We can also observe Mandelbrot sets at the beginning of life in a woman's womb. The equation that governs the nature is spectacularly simple and displays the nature in exquisite details. Before the public understood the power of the Mandelbrot sets, Hollywood jumped in. The Star Trek movies with the fractals put the movie watchers in a trance. There is a different kind of a trance was described by an American botanist, a former New Age hippie, Terence McKenna. He frequently experimented with a psychedelic brew called ayahuasca. He chronicled his experiences through books and videos. Amazonian Indians consumed this brew on ceremonial occasions. Terence McKenna claims this brew produced visual and auditory hallucinations while his eyes were closed. He claimed his experiences profoundly changed his outlook on life.
Many of them, and they come pounding toward you, and they will stop in front of you and vibrate, but then they do a very disconcerting thing, which is they jump into your body. They jump into your body, and then they jump back out again. And the whole thing is going on in this very high-speed mode, where you're being presented with thousands of details per second, and you can't get a hold on, you say, my God, what's happening?
In recent studies by Johns Hopkins and New York University Langone Special Unit Psychedelic Medicine Center conducted studies with the psychedelic drug psilocybin in a controlled environment. The chemical compound in psilocybin is dimethyltryptamine, in short called a DMT. The studies show a single dose of psilocybin dramatically reduced the depression with the subjects of research. Interestingly, the visual hallucinations the subjects describing look very similar to Mandelbrot fractals. In the years before, Albert Einstein published a theory of general relativity, a profoundly mind-bending way of looking at nature. Mass tells space-time how to curve, and space-time tells mass how to move. Gravity is not a force, it is an illusion created by the bodies moving in space-time curvature. Einstein deployed a very different branch of mathematics called non-Euclidean geometry. We don't experience non-Euclidean geometry in our everyday lives. American Airlines pilot explained this phenomena through a tricky example. The shortest route from Dallas to Hong Kong is first Dallas to Seattle, then Seattle to Alaska, then Alaska to Siberia, then Siberia to Mongolia, then Mongolia to Hong Kong. That is the shortest route. But you see on a flat map, it creates an illusion the Hong Kong is directly right across Dallas. But if you combine Einstein's non-Euclidean geometrical concepts With the Mandelbrot fractals, watching in a virtual reality devices, it is truly a technical wonder. It produces mind-feasting, kaleidoscoping patterns where all your visual channels are fully occupied. It puts you in a trance and gives you same bliss without inducing substances. The fractals are nature's artistic expressions. Now you are in tune with the nature. Welcome to 25 milligram DMT experience without a DMT. Consciousness hacking through technology is a mass mental relaxation technique for modern humans. Thank you for watching. What do you think? Yeah. The reason I played this video, Susan, is I want to talk about the future of education must be learning everything, art, fractal geometries, that's a lot of new thinking came out, fractal geometry, you know, that even I was thinking, I thought about when I was developing the MedBricks platform, is fractal geometry played a very important role. So I think that is all understanding of all the disciplines, little bit of everything is very important as you are very interested learning everything. That curiosity has to start from childhood days. That's a missing in the that's what medical education is outdated, outlived it's we need to teach them art, philosophy, even fun, whatever it is, singing, everything, music, all of them are important in my view. So let you comment.
Well, I think education period is outdated, and not just for doctors, not for just for medical doctors, for
Yeah.
anyone, pretty much in any discipline. I can certainly chime in with nursing education is long overdue for overhaul. So, and I would go so far, our K through 12 adult continuing education. I mean, all of it, it's going to have to change anyway in this AI world, and the way we can do things in shorter time, more condensed time. And absolutely, you and I talk to polymaths every week on this show, and
Yeah.
it's no longer really a rare. I don't think it's going to be such a rarity. I think it's going to be the norm. We have access to information and learning, and it's free. Multiple, some of the biggest and best educational platforms in our globally are now offering their programs for free. So I think it's going to happen naturally, Ramana. I think we're going to be expanding our minds and becoming polymaths. It should be more the norm than the other.
Good. Thank you so much. And that's what I wrote the article and I wanted to show them why it's important to understanding the polymath thinking. Tomorrow we're going to have a lot of fun. Tomorrow is a festive. Today is a depressing talk a little bit, but
A little bit. It's sad but true, and not so the case. I have nursing colleagues. It's not my space, but I know that there's a lot of people doing a lot of work to improve the situation. But we got to get on it. The numbers are increasing massively with the aging of our population, and it'll get better. We'll put the positive vibes out into the universe that it will get better, that there's enough kind people out there that are willing to do the work, and there's enough kind and lovely, wonderful people to care for our loved ones. And so I'm going to throw out the good vibes that it's going to happen.
Well, one of the Abhi suggested, Dr. Kashi suggested, is that smaller homes and in a joint family close by, it just kind of that thing atmosphere can create easily can be done. It's not a rocket science. It is not achievable. We have all the resources. I think we need to do focus on incentivize those kind of things much
I do
more than
too. There isn't a family member that wouldn't choose that over an institutional, cattle type setting with their loved ones. 6 to 12 patients where they have outdoor activities. Put in natural settings where we don't lose. I mean, when you get locked into those places, you're never going to go outside. I mean, most of them have a little, an area where you can with locked doors that you can get in and out. But it's a whole feeling when you're in there. So anyway, I agree with you. I'm for private equity coming on in and saying, hey, how about we put up these little bitty mini villages that are really close to the earth and nature, and have the nurses come in and have caregivers and providers come in and keep their way of life and include obviously the family as much as possible.
I love that. Yeah, absolutely support it. So thank you for watching, and then thank you for coming in today with all the traveling you do. So, where is the next travel for you? You are going home. You are born.
I'm going to be home for the holiday, and then I'm going to go off the grid for a hot minute between Christmas and just past the New Year. I'm going to ring in the New Year in my cabin off the grid. So I'm going to reset and get ready for a amazing 2026.
Tomorrow is going to be another beautiful, just a festive, very positive atmosphere. We're going to bring a singing sensation tomorrow.
Excellent.
That's good. After that, another doctor coming is Dr. Evan Alexander. He's going to talk about near-death experience. He's just an amazing doctor and he's a friend actually, whom I admire him. So let us continue the conversation tomorrow for festive environment. So wear the festive clothes.
Okay.
Thank you all.
It.
Bye.
Good night, everybody. Thank you so much, Ramana. Good night, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye.
We are retelling their stories through our patented designs that can be worn on scrubs, t-shirts, printed on conference bags, and endless other promotional materials. Daily Wear for Medicine is the first ever of its kind to create curiosity in medicine through visual art. We at MedBricks are celebrating unsung heroes of the past who made enormous contributions to the field of medicine through our unique campaign called Daily Wear for Medicine. You can wear it, carry it, and give it.